Here in this second chapter of Python Learning by Doing, we will focus very much on variables. So there are basically three types of variables. There are the string variables, which are basically text. There are number variables, where you can store a number to. And then you have Boolean variables. Boolean is basically something that will return if you have an if statement to a variable, could be if somebody is a male, and that it can return true or false. Hey and welcome here. I'm Torkild Brunsnes, and this is Python Learning by Doing. I strongly believe that learning by doing, that's the way that works the best. It is for me, I can tell you. So try to follow this, these chapters here, and do what I'm showing on the screen. Follow it on your own computer. And when you have gone through all the different chapters, I promise you, you will be an excellent programmer. Well, let's grab a cup of coffee. And then let's just get going. When you open PyCharm, you should get a window looking something like this. It depends a bit about what kind of project it opens here. But doesn't really matter, because we'll make a new project. So we will start going up here in File and say New Project. And this new project here, let's give it a name that has some kind of relation to what we are doing here. So let's call it Learning by Doing. Learning by Doing. I just write it all out in one word. And then when we come down here, it needs an interpreter. And we need to make sure we have an interpreter selected. Some of you might have Python version 2 installed, so make sure you choose one that says something with 3. I have a 3.8 here, or I have a 3.10. I just grab the 3.8 here. And then say Create. And create from existing sources. And in this window. Okay. So here I have my new project. You can see it over here on the left side, Learning by Doing. And it has like a standard file that I chose to have read in. And I can try to run it. And here comes the beauty. If I click this green button here, that will execute this default program in here. So I can try to run it. And now you can see down here in the bottom, here we get the result when the program is running. So it prints hi and then something. And that something is the variable down here, PyCharm. So you can see the result we get here is hi PyCharm. But we really want to make our own files. I close this main py here, and I don't really need it. So we can just right click it and delete it. Okay. So now I have an open window and basically no files over here. So let's go and say we want a new file, and that file should be a Python file. So I go here to New and then Python file. And now I can give it a name here. And this one here, let's call it variables, or variable, because we are working with variables in this exercise. So variable is what we call the file. And now you can see I have a file up here called variable.py. And if you see over here in my file hierarchy, you can see there is a variable.py as well. So that's great. We are ready to go. So let's make our first little example file here. And we will do something very simple. We will ask it to print a text string. So this will actually be the very first program we are making. So we simply say print And you see, the beauty of working with this editor is it already tells me there needs to be parentheses around here. So we will do a parenthesis, and it automatically gives me a closed one. If I want to write a text string here, and it could be hi, and I just write a name, Jonas. Oh, it's because I should have a citation mark there, and there should be one at the end. That's the syntax for that. So this is basically my very first program. Print hi Jonas. So let's try that. We click the green arrow, and see down here in the bottom, now it says hi Jonas. So we have successfully created our very first program. Very simple, that prints hi Jonas. So we basically have a text string here saying hi Jonas now, and you can see it printed it out on one line. Let's try to make a little modification to that. I say we wanted to print here hi, and on the next line print Jonas. So now we can try to go up here, and we can put in a backslash and then n. This is the syntax for a new line. So now it should write hi and then Jonas on the next line. So let's try to run it. And you see down here now, here it says hi and next line Jonas. Okay, we just tried to do something very simple by writing out a string. But now we will take the next step, and we will try to define a variable that is a string variable. And then afterwards, we will try to print that variable. So let's clear the window up here, and then I will say, we call the variable phrase. So we just have a phrase, and we say that equals, and then let's say Harley Davidson. Let's say that. So that's my phrase. The phrase is my variable. That's a variable. And the way you define a string variable is with these citation marks around. So now we have defined a variable, and the content of that variable is Harley Davidson. And because it's a text, it has to be within citation marks. Now we will take the next step here, and we will try to say, we will say print and then we say variable. No, phrase. Sorry. Our variable was called phrase. Okay, so we have a little program here. We defined a variable called phrase, and the content of the variable is right now Harley Davidson, and we can print it. Let's try to run this program. And you see down here in the bottom, the reply we get is Harley Davidson. I can change it to something else, and we can change it to Kawasaki. And now if I run it again, it says Kawasaki down there. Let's go back to the Harley Davidson. And then I can say, maybe I want to add some text. Oh, I got some too much there. And I can say plus, and then if I want to write something at the end of this Harley Davidson, I want a space here, and then I can say cool motorcycles. A citation mark over. So that's my phrase now. And then let's try to print that. Let's run the program. And I got an error here. And that's because that's not where I need to write it. That was a mistake here. This here is down here. I need to write it. So in the print here, I want the phrase printed and then followed by "are cool motorcycles." And now let's try to run it. And that's because I removed that citation mark. Okay, now it should work. And you see here, Harley Davidson. That was the content of my variable called phrase. So phrase is Harley Davidson. And then I added a piece of text. And you can see that by the citation marks. So it's inside. And note that there is a space here, because I want a space between Harley Davidson and then what follows. So that's how you can play a bit with a string variable. We also have some functions we can add here to a string variable. And let's try to look at some of those. If I go up here where I have my print phrase, I print my variable. If I after that put a dot and then say lower, and then 2 parentheses like this. Now it should print out Harley Davidson in all lowercase. So let's try to run it. And it did not. And that's because I have a spelling error. Okay, let's try again. And here you can see Harley Davidson comes out in low letters. And I can change this here to upper. And try to run it again. And you see it come out in capitals. We also has the function here to check if it is in upper. So if I say is upper, now it will look for the content here and say, is it uppercase? So let's try to run that. And then it says no, false, because it's not uppercase, they're lowercase. And then we can check here, is lower. And that's also false because it's not all capitalized. But we can try to make it. We change the variable up here. And then let's try to run it. And then you can see it became true, because now it's all lowercase. So there are other things we can do. We can ask how long is our content of the variable. So we can put this length command in and try to run that. Oh, that's because we need to put phrase in here. So it's length and then phrase. That's our variable. So now it gives us the length of the variable. And here it will tell us it's 15 characters. The last one here is we can also try to ask, we just delete this here. We take our phrase and then we ask for an index. And let's talk a bit about what an index is. So I use these sharp brackets and now I say 0. What does that mean? See, now I'm asking it to print out index 0 from the variable phrase. And you can see here the way an index works, that's a position. So I have Harley Davidson here. It has 14 positions, but it starts with 0. So the H is 0. The A is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. But if I say print phrase index 0 and it's in these sharp brackets, then it should return an H to me. So let's try to run it. And sure enough, there I got the H. Let's try to just grab 9 and see what do I get there. Then I get the V. So let's check that. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the V. So that's correct. So there are a whole lot of functions you can use here, especially with the index parameter here as well. I can also use that index function for finding where in a text string is a certain letter. So for instance, if I go in here and I delete the last part here, so I say phrase dot index, and then we ask for where does it say Y. Phrase index, and then we ask for where is the letter Y. And we try to run it. And now the reply it gets me down here is 5. So that's index 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can also go in here and say David. Now I'm asking for what's the index position where it finds David, and it will give me the index of where this phrase here starts. So let's try to run it. And it tells me 7. So let's check. 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's correct. That's where it starts. So that's a little bit about how we can use indexes. Another function we have here is a replace function, where we can replace a part of the content of a variable. So we go in here, we say print phrase, and then we say replace. And then we give parentheses and we say, let's replace the first part of the Harley Davidson. So we say replace Harley. Oh. We need a comma. And then we say replace Harley with Peter. So here we should get a replacement of Harley with Peter. Let's try to run it. We didn't. What is wrong? we are missing one parenthesis, I can see, because we have one out here already. So now it should work. And down here we get Peter Davidson. That concludes this chapter of Python Learning by Doing. Make sure that you follow all the following chapters and go through the entire series. Also make sure to hit both the like and the subscribe buttons, because that would help me to keep creating programs like this. So thank you for doing that. And here after this there will be a link on the screen, and that will be to the next episode in this series of 26 videos. So take another cup of coffee and get ready for the next episode.